Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my garden. If you're new here for the very first time, thank you so much for landing on my channel and sticking around. In today's video, I'm going to give you a garden tour for the month of July. It is the very last day of July that I'm shooting this, and I want to show you literally what's left of the garden. I do mean what's left. You'll see what I mean as we continue to go on with the video. But if you're new, let me know what city, state, or country you're coming in from so I can say hello to you. And then if you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back and visiting me in my garden. Y'all, it has been a week. Let me tell you, we have been, like most of the South, I think, have been under a very extreme heat advisory. And so the temperatures have been 95 to 98, but the humidity and the heat index has made it feel like 110 to 113. So I have not spent very much time in the garden this week. I've been spending a lot of time on the inside of the house doing food preservation and all of that because it's just been really too hot. And I'm now at the end of the evening, and I waited to the last possible minute to do this video because y'all, it's just been so hot. But I do want you to see, before things start changing too much, I want you to see what the garden is looking like in the month of July. Now, if you're like me, July going into August kind of represents a shift between seasons. I call it the second summer. Like, we're still in summer, but we have our eyes peeled towards the fall for sure. And when it comes to fall gardening, I want to also remind you that you have literally, y'all, 1 day left to register for the fall gardening workshop. I'm doing a workshop virtually on August the 3rd from 2 to 4 p.m. If you cannot make it live with me, I will be live. But if you cannot make it on that date, then you can still register for the class, and you will get a replay as well as the digital workbook that goes along that's going to tell you everything you need to know about how to plant your fall garden. I'm going to give you all my tips and tricks and everything else. The link will be down in the description, and I also try to make it the first comment so that you guys can go ahead and get your registration in for that class. I'm not doing another one. This is the only fall gardening workshop I am doing this year. So if you're waiting like, oh, she's gonna do another one next month, no, because this is the time you have to start thinking about the fall garden, right? If you wait a month from now, you're too late. You are too late. You got to think about it in the heat and the humidity. That's what it calls for, okay? So definitely sign up for that if you are interested. Now, as I was saying, we're kind of in between seasons. We have 1 foot in the fall, 1 foot in the summer. And the garden is showing us who is boss, okay? And at least my garden is. And my garden has told me, sis, we done. We tired. And I'm like, no, you're not done. They're like, no, we're done. Now, I got to be fair. It's not all of the garden, but it's a lot of the garden, especially those tomatoes. Those tomatoes have taken the high road, and they're like, peace, sister, we out. We out. Wait till you see what's going on in another part of the garden. And so this is a very mixed review video, meaning there's some things that are doing okay, and there's some other things that are not doing great. And I have to say that I've been gardening. This is my 5th summer gardening. This is by far the worst that I have. And I really count it in terms of when I kind of knew what I was doing. Now, the first year, I mean, but still, even if I count all those 5 years, this is the worst that I've seen it in terms of pest pressure, disease. The weather has not been our friend here in Tennessee. We have had huge amounts of rain, extreme heat. The weather has been very fickle. And so I know that that's part of it, right? That is part of it. We can't control the weather. We can only control the things that we can control. And when I turn on to other YouTubers, they're saying the exact same thing, that it has been a very challenging summer. But let's get into today's video. So if you're new here, we have 3 main garden spaces that we garden in during the summer. What I'm sitting in right now is the back of my house. This is where my garden first started, literally in 2020 in April. And so we had 4 raised beds, then added a 5th raised bed. So I'm going to take you around and show you how this is doing. And out of all the 3 spaces that we have, this space is actually doing the best. Go figure. It is the smallest of the spaces we have, but it's actually doing better and outperforming the other two spaces. So let me take you off the tripod. Let's walk around and let's take a look at how it's going out here. So this is my first raised bed, and y'all look at these zinnias. They are absolutely stunning. Everywhere I have these planted, I have them in all three spaces. They have done extremely well, and I don't even remember the kind of zinnia this is. It may be Oklahoma pink or something like that, but it's a very small type of bloom. It's not the big fluffy kind, but I've had hardly no disease on this particular variety. So I really need to find out what it is, because it has done extremely well. But in this bed, we have peppers. The peppers back here have decided to kick in this month. They started off slow, as peppers do, but they have been doing well. We have jalapeno peppers in this bed, as well as we have our first succession of green beans. You can see we have green beans coming in. I've already done 2 harvests of green beans, and so they just started coming in the last week or so. There's another green bean right there that I can come and harvest. And then let's go over here on this side is another pepper. I think this is a serrano pepper. Let's see. No. Oh, okay. We got some thyme here. That's what that is. And then this pepper, I think it's a serrano based on the way that it looks. Y'all let me know. Is that serrano or Anaheim? Y'all, I planted Anaheim and I have yet to see it. So these plants right here, all of these plants, oh man, I have a ton of green beans. I don't know if you can see that. I have a ton of green beans growing right there, so I got to come out here and harvest. I just harvested twice this week already. So you can see, here's an up-close look at this zinnia. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And then in the front, we have jalapeno peppers. We've harvested a ton of these as well. So let me tell you what these plants are in the back of my house. So all of these pepper plants in the back of my house are actually leftover seed starts. So I started pretty much 99% of all the things that you see growing out here. I started from seed. I do a weekly, annually I do a weekly seed starting challenge where we start seeds together every single week, starting from 12 weeks out all the way up until the day before we put the stuff out. And so I started seeds starting in February, but for the peppers, I usually started those like in March or so. And so I put everything that I had out in April and in May. Well, I had a ton, when I say a ton of plants left over. Even though I sold up about $1,000 worth of plant starts, I still had plants left over. I started, I don't know, probably close to 2,000, maybe 1,500 plants for sure. But we had a ton of pepper plants left, squash and zucchini, and y'all, they were looking bad because they were in their same cups, their same pots from the time that I started them back in March and April. But I couldn't get rid of them. I had sold everything I was going to sell, and so they were just sitting there. And so literally, y'all, at the last minute, when it was time, after we had taken out the onions and the garlic back here and it was time to do our succession planting, I just brought those old tired plants and put them in here. Y'all, they looked rough. If you were here, you know, they looked rough. But look at them now. Look at them now. And so that was a blessing because I didn't have to buy. Because usually when it comes time for me to plant this out here, because this is the last place to be planted in the summertime because we have our onions and garlic out here. And so we don't harvest those until June. So by the time it's time to plant out here, I usually just go buy plant starts because I'm too tired to start seeds all over again. And I've just been so busy. But that worked out. So all the pepper plants that you see out here, and in the first 2 beds I'm going to show you are old plants that we started together. But look at God. And look how well they're doing. They're green and they look great. So let me take you over to the next few beds. Okay, in this bed we have some basil that looks fantastic. It's looking good. And then this bed we have our Roma tomatoes. You can see our Roma tomatoes are doing great. We're just waiting for them to blush. I see the first one blushing right in there. Oh, somebody decided to take a nibble of this one. That's okay. That's the only damage I've actually seen out here. And so also in this bed, we had our zucchini right here. And those zucchini plants, again, were those old zucchini plants that I did earlier. So we had zucchinis right there, and we had some squash over here. You can see those open spaces. We took those out about a couple of weeks ago. They produced well until the squash bugs came. And so all of that was all good. But the Romas seem to be doing great. And this is a bush variety Roma. So you can see they don't get real tall. They really don't need trellis, and I just got them staked. Oh, I see. Oh, I got some hornworm damage. I just noticed that. I was just talking all big and bad about you. Now I got to find the hornworm. I was just saying I haven't had any pests back here, and now the hornworm has found these, which usually doesn't happen back here, especially with these Roma tomatoes. But I can tell that is hornworm damage. That's a beautiful celosia flower that's done well. Again, it was old too. And then here we have some peppers. This one is definitely ready. Look how huge that is. I think that's the Ajvarsky. I'll come out and get that when I harvest everything else. And then we have a pepper there and there. So overall, this bed is good. Now the next 3 beds are sweet potatoes. We actually tripled our sweet potato production. You can see it's nothing but rows and rows of sweet potatoes. In this bed, we have baby Bayou Bell and then Kerrygold. And then in this bed, we have Beauregard. And then in this bed, we have Evangeline. So Beauregard is what I've always grown, but the other varieties are all brand new to me. So you can see they are covering the bed. They are growing well. I definitely have some weeds in here that I need to come in here and try to get rid of. But sweet potatoes take a long time to grow, so we won't harvest these until our first, right before the first frost. They take about 100 to 110 days, but they are looking good and everything's covered. Now we have our green stalks. At the top of all of these green stalks, we had onions, so they've been taken out. And you can see here, we literally just pretty much have flowers and herbs left over. Flowers and herbs. And they're doing good. The empty spaces are where I had the onions and stuff, and I have not replanted. I did try to plant green beans there, but one of you guys told me that for whatever reason, green beans, you can't plant them behind onions, which I had never heard that before. So maybe that's why they didn't grow. And then I got a couple of peppers here. So there's a pepper growing there. There's another pepper growing there. Then I think I got some more. Yep. Look at this. That's a serrano. So that's growing there in the green stalk. So overall back here it has done really, really well. Outside of me seeing that hornworm damage, that must have just happened in the last, I don't know, 24 to 48 hours. I have not seen any pests back here except the squash bugs with the zucchini and the squash. And I took those out. So I'm very pleased with how things are going back here. And like I said, this is always, when I say our carryover, like our peppers and stuff, these are like second succession peppers. Our main things that we planted at the very beginning are in the other spaces. But this is doing well. In the open spaces in that second bed where the Roma tomatoes are, I'm going to put some patty pan squash and some zucchini and do a third succession of those. I've already started those. So we'll put those back there and see how they do. And then we'll just let this be until they don't want to be anymore. I don't plant anything back here in the fall and winter. We use our greenhouse primarily for that. And so out here, these can go until the first frost, until the summer is absolutely over, because I'm not waiting on them to put something else in there. And like I said, we'll pull the potatoes right before the first frost. But then after that, we will plant our garlic back here in October, and we will plant some onions back here in February of next year. So that's kind of the rotation of how we do this space here with the 5 raised beds. One of my green stalks, I will probably, like last year I didn't do any green stalks in the fall and winter because really I produce enough in my high tunnel that we don't need any more space of food because it takes care of everything that we need for the fall and winter. But I'm thinking about doing one green stalk, planting it out for the fall and winter, just so that I can have some lettuce and kale and some herbs on hand, just quick when I come out of the kitchen. I can just grab it and not have to go down to the hot tunnel. That's what I'm thinking. We'll see what happens. Other than that, I'll just let these green stalks go again until they peter out. That's how we'll do that. Now let me meet you in the other two spaces and I'll show you what's going on down there. We are now in our second space, which is our hot tunnel. And so if you're new, our hot tunnel is 30 by 96. Inside we have 6 raised beds, and then the rest of the hot tunnel we plant in ground. We have 5 rows and they're each about 45 feet long. So this is the primary space where we grow our food all year round. So every day of the year we have food growing in here: fall, winter, spring, and summer. And so this is the only place in the garden on the homestead where we're doing food all year round, and obviously because we have season extension. So let's take a tour of how things are going in here, and literally, y'all, what's left. I know you see old faithful eucalyptus behind me, and so if you're new, yes, I grew that eucalyptus from seed 3 years ago. It is wild. It desperately needs to be pruned, and it's like about to break. Now, you can see how tall it is. You can see how tall it is up there. When I grew the eucalyptus, I did not know the eucalyptus, the variety that I got, was a tree. I did not know that. And so hence, yeah, she's big, bold, and beautiful. But let's start at the beginning and I'll walk you through all the way. So we'll start with the first raised bed here. You can see we have a lot of open space. So the open space that you see here was where our celery was, and we went ahead and ripped the celery out because it was way past its time. There you just see I have one that I'm just letting kind of compost in place, and or wait till my husband can come in here and get it because I couldn't get it out. But all of this open space right here was celery. We probably had like 10 celery in here, and so that did open up quite a bit of space. But in the bed we still have some herbs growing. Here we have some chives, we have some parsley, we have some sage, and you can see here how the sage at the bottom was dying, but the sage up here at the top. This bed was literally covered, y'all. It was absolutely covered that I couldn't even see what was going on. You can see here like my lemon, my thyme there needs a little bit love and attention. And then over here we have some peppers. Let me take you to the other side. Now, this plant here is the jalapeno pepper. I didn't even know this pepper plant was right here, and it certainly had not produced anything, but now look at it. Once we gave it some space, we were able to see it and give it some attention. Now we have peppers growing. Those are the first couple of peppers. And then, y'all, this is our lavender that just literally has gone wild. Now, what I don't know is, can I do anything with this? Like, is lavender only good when you have the purple buds and stuff? Like, is there anything I can do with the green part? That I don't know. I've never had lavender this big. This variety was Origami by Baker's Creek. And it has done really, really well. My containers right here. Here's my yarrow. You can see that some of it is dying. And this is my first time growing yarrow. And I bought this plant from a nursery. So I don't know if yarrow doesn't like heat. I thought it does, but I'm not sure why it's dying. So if you have any tips, let me know. And then this is our lemon balm. Then here we have our mint. You can see I've given it a severe haircut. This is our peppermint. It looks a little bit better than the mint. And in this bed here, you see that we do have some open space. So again, we had celery in this bed that we pulled up as well. We had a nasturtium here that was very, very wild and all over the place. So we took care of that. We had trimmed it, we had pruned it, but it was kind of getting out of hand and was dying. So I went ahead and pulled it up. Here we have some pepper plants. They right now are not producing a whole ton. They're still green, but we'll wait and see if they produce some more. We had a banana pepper plant here that we pulled up, and then in the back we just have our basil, and we've pruned it, and it's already grown back since I've pruned it about a week ago. But again, we have a lot of open space in this bed here, but this is what's left and what's kind of hanging on in this bed. We have one eggplant plant right here. We've harvested one. You see there's one there that's overripe, but then we have a new one forming right there. Okay, so this bed here, in this bed, originally when we started off in the spring, we had our cilantro, our dill, and that we got rid of about a month or so ago. But then what is left in the bed, we have a pepper plant here, and then we're also growing some Roma tomatoes. And I see that we have some damage here on one of our Roma tomatoes. We've only harvested like maybe 2 or 3 of the Roma tomatoes so far. I see there's some blushing right down there. Now this Roma tomato plant, both of these I bought from a nursery, and it looks like they are more indeterminate, which I've never grown an indeterminate Roma because they are like getting tall, like they look like they need to be pruned, versus the ones I've grown before have not looked like that. You can see here we have a pepper plant that's kind of on the ground. We have more eggplant in here. The eggplant has not been prolific. We've only harvested, I think, 4 eggplant so far. And I don't see any, okay, I see a couple of flowers right in there. So maybe we'll get more eggplant. And then over here is another Roma tomato as well. Back here in the back of this bed are jalapeno peppers that we planted. So we've been able to harvest quite a bit from there. But you can see here, like on this Roma, like this is a tall Roma. Like it's having to be, like it needs to be like on a trellis. And I would not have grown it in the bed if I thought that it was not a determinate variety. So this is definitely an indeterminate variety, and we'll talk a little bit about that in just a second. So when it comes to determinate and indeterminate varieties of tomatoes, for indeterminate varieties, you want to prune those and you want to trellis those because they're going to grow to an indeterminate height, 7, 8 feet, 9 feet tall, and they're going to keep putting on fruit all throughout the season. And so most of the tomatoes I grow are indeterminate. As you can see, as you've seen on previous videos, they are either on a trellis, we've done string trellising, but we know they're indeterminate and they're growing just like that one. Now, when it comes to Roma tomatoes, I've always only grown determinate Roma tomatoes. I did not even know that there was a variety that was indeterminate until I saw it on someone else's video a few weeks ago. And so this is probably clearly an indeterminate. And again, if I would have known that, I bought that from a nursery and it was like a local nursery. It wasn't labeled. It was just like a little tag in it. And so I would not have put it in the raised bed. But I'm seeing now that, yeah. So I don't know quite what's going to happen with that one. And maybe if I prune it, it will be better. When it comes to determinate tomatoes, they get to a determined height, usually like 4 or 5 feet tall. They grow in a bush pattern and they put all their fruit on at one time. So what I showed you in the back of the house, those Roma tomatoes you can see are much taller, are much shorter. They're not growing wild and they have more fruit on it at one time. That is the difference. And so with a determinate variety, you don't prune it. You can grow it in a raised bed. You can grow it in a container and it works just fine. But indeterminate really needs to be trellised and staked. And you can see with all my efforts that ain't working because it's the wrong variety. But that's neither here nor there. That is a-okay. So you can see how those first 3 raised beds are doing. Let me show you the other 3 raised beds and then we'll take a look at the back of the greenhouse. Okay, so coming across here, you can see we have this, I want to say is, what is this? Is it strawberry? No, this is spearmint. So over there was peppermint. That's strawberry mint. And then that's another lemon balm. So they're doing okay. I need to come and harvest and do another harvesting. And in this bed here was our pollinator patch. You can see there is not much left. We have literally pulled out, I would say 75% of what was in this bed. So in the back we had sunflowers that had kind of just were spent. We had nasturtiums. Okay, that's a weed that's trying to grow there that we'll take out. And then we had a lot of zinnias that were really just dead. So all we have left is a basil in the back And then we have these 2 celosias that are laying down. So we need to kind of stem those up. And then I have 1 coleus right there that has kind of gone to seed. But everything else you can see is pretty much gone out of this bed. And again, this was the flower bed. It was nothing but flowers in here. So can't be mad at that. And we'll replace this bed with some other stuff. This bed here, this is a celosia plant that just kind of went wild and crazy. It is, look how big this stalk is. The pictures don't even do it justice. But it's kind of gone wild, and it's almost acting like a weed. But it is a celosia that I planted. I'm not sure why this one got so big and the other ones didn't, like out of control big. I'm not sure. And it's only produced like 1 flower. So I'm actually like pruning this one. I haven't finished, but yeah, that's really, really odd. Like you can see, like the branches are like way over here. So we're gonna get that cleaned up. But then the rest of this bed are green beans. You can see the green beans are doing good. I have not harvested any yet, but I see the first one coming. So I see a couple coming there. So they're almost ready. They should be ready in another few days or so to harvest. And then we have a celosia plant back there. That's the yellow queen. The bees love it. And then we have a snapdragon that, again, it came back. Now it's dying. We'll prune it and we'll just leave it here, and it'll, you know, come back in the fall. And then across the way here, the last raised bed, we have some comfrey growing in a pot, but we have the huge comfrey like right there. This is a eucalyptus, but it's a small gum eucalyptus, so it's not going to get nearly as big. It's only going to get like maybe 2 or 3 feet. And then in this bed, y'all, we had tons of stuff. We had eggplant, which we still have an eggplant there. I see a flower coming there. And this is where we've harvested some of the eggplant. But we had thyme, we had extra basil. So this open space was extra basil that we took out just to kind of give some more airflow, because we were noticing, you know, some issues and we didn't even know what we had. But you can see back here, again, I have more eggplant coming, but again, they're yellow, and I'm not sure what's going on with that and why that is the case. If you know, let me know, because they're not even full size yet, but they're starting off yellow, which is odd. And then y'all, look at all of these peppers. We didn't even know. Look, I knew this plant was tucked in here somewhere, but we haven't harvested anything. Couldn't see it. It was laying on the ground. But now that we've cleared out some space, look at all the peppers that are hanging that's going to be ready to be harvested. This is red ember cayenne. And then I see I have another one, jalapeno pepper there, plant that's laying down. We need to get that one staked. This is more lavender. Over there is the Dusty Miller. And then we have another jalapeno plant there, as you can see. And then let me take you around on the other side. Look at this here. You can see all of these serrano peppers. They're just hanging. And then if you can see in here, we have jalapenos. In this bed, we have a ton of sage. So I need to come in and harvest that. We have some oregano on the back side of that bed, but mostly this bed is all sage. And this is sage that I actually planted last summer. It made it all through the winter, came back this spring, and look at her. Looking real good. As you can see, we have quite a few bare spaces of things that we pulled up that just was not working, was dead, needed to go, and that's part of it, right? So your garden may be looking the same way at this time of the year, or it may be looking like you need to pull it up and you haven't pulled it up. I just want you to let you know, when I say you're on track, meaning it's not that I want you to have bad areas like me, but what I'm saying is at this point in the season, that is usually what happens, and that's okay. You have some things that are just now starting to take off. Like peppers are always slow and late to the game, and they always, in my opinion and in my experience, they always seem to thrive once they kind of get everything from around them, and it's a little bit later in the season, they're like, okay, it's my time to shine. That is usually what they do, versus tomatoes are usually the star at the beginning of the summer. But that's how the raised beds are doing. Again, we have some open space, so I can do one or two things. I can leave this open space and use it for my fall, or I could also, if I wanted to do like a lot more bush green beans, I could do that as well. I haven't quite yet decided what I'm going to do. I think I'm leaning more towards letting it be and then just having the space for the fall crops that will be in here in the next month or so, but I'm still deciding. And we may do half and half, and maybe do one bed that is fall for September, and then we may do some bush beans in another. And again, if I do the bush beans in one of them, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to do fall crops in that bed. I will just do it much later. Now, because I have a high tunnel, my fall crops, I don't necessarily have to start right now. I am starting right now because I will be transitioning, you know, most of this space over at the first part of September. But if I didn't want to do that and I wanted to do it, you know, in October, I could do that because I have season extension. But for most of you, if you do not have a greenhouse, a high tunnel, or something like that, this is the time to be thinking about your fall seeds, and you will be transplanting them like the last week of August, first week of September. Now let's take a look at the rest of the high tunnel and what's growing in ground and what's left. Okay, so let me show you tomato row, and you can see this whole row of tomatoes are gone. There are no longer tomatoes. There's only 2 basil plants in this row. This whole row was filled with tomato plants. If you've been here, you know. And then we have this row left here. But y'all, it is not looking good. It is not looking good at all. These plants have just been torn up. Now, these looked better than the ones in the back, which is why I kept them. And some of them are still doing okay. Like you can see that there is doing okay. But we have quite a bit of disease and pest pressure on these tomatoes. But if you would have saw the ones in the back, they were unsalvageable. These, not so much. Like, I'm still getting some fruit. I picked like 3 or 4 slicing tomatoes yesterday. But you can see here, a lot of the fruit that's growing on these is damaged. There is an eggplant in here. Now, y'all, the eggplant, like, I see that it's covered with something. That almost looks like fire ants. But you can see army worms. And this particular eggplant, I have not harvested one. It has not grown one eggplant. It is riddled with pests. Although it's still, when I say it looks good, like, it still has leaves. But nothing has happened all summer long on this particular eggplant. You can see how some of the disease looks here. Like I said, it's pretty bad. But then I have some that look kind of decent, but that's another army worm. I have never ripped out a whole row of tomatoes at this point in the season in July. I have never had to do that. But if you could have saw the back row, like, it had been completely like demolished, destroyed by hornworms. Everything that was on it was dead. It wasn't producing much of anything. And so I just wanted to go ahead and get rid of it. It was not salvageable. This front row is looking better than even it did. And again, I was going to have both rows pulled, and I kept the front row because I'm like, okay, maybe, just maybe, we can salvage it. And so my husband treated it one more time. It is looking better. I don't see as much hornworm damage anymore, but I'm seeing these, I think they're army worms was what I showed you. But maybe there's still hope. I think I'm going to let these go for another week or two. And I think what I'm even going to do is I'm going to come in and prune these and see if that helps and makes a difference. Now, when we came back from Missouri, I remember I showed you we had a lot of dead tomatoes and stuff on there. And that could have just been because they were not picked when they were blushing and they ripened all the way. So we tried to get all of the dead stuff off, and I can see that now it is producing more fruit. It's just at a very, very slower rate. We were getting, of course, you know, tons of tomatoes at a time. And so, like I said, I picked 4 yesterday, which is very low, but it's still tomatoes. And I'm thankful. So we'll probably let this go for another couple of weeks. And again, if it does well, I'll let it go all the way until September, until I need the space for fall. But I'm not married to it. And I'm okay if I have to let it go. Now, one of the reasons why I'm okay if I have to let it go is because, hey, there's only so much you can do to fight against the pests. You know, you try everything you can, and then sometimes it just takes over. That is part of the gardening journey. But also, y'all, I have, I'm not going to say I reached my quota of tomatoes, but yesterday I processed all the tomatoes that I've had so far, and I was able to get, let's see, 16 jars of spaghetti sauce. And so, y'all, I'm to the good. I'm to the good. Okay? So if I don't, you know how they say if the Lord never does one more thing for me, he's done enough. If I don't grow another tomato, I'm good for this season. Okay? I would definitely take more. And like I said, I have some Romas in my backyard. But in terms of spaghetti sauce, that's the main thing that I use my tomatoes for. That's always the first product that I do. And then from there, if I have extra, I may do, you know, something like, I wouldn't say diced tomatoes because I haven't done diced tomatoes. I want to do diced tomatoes. That was on my list this year. But if I don't get any more tomatoes enough to do that, then that won't happen. But it hadn't happened before. That was just something I wanted to try this year. But I have my spaghetti sauce, which is what we use primarily. We use it obviously for spaghetti. I make a lot of lasagna, you know, throughout, you know, one particular year. So that's what we use it for. And so that is the main product that I need. We've also made salsa already this summer. I have some in my freezer. I could use some more, but if I don't, I'm still okay. And then I also made tomato soup, and I have that in my freezer. So we have gotten some products, and so I cannot complain. Would I like more? That's great. But if I don't get any more, we're still to the good. And so that is the benefit and the blessing of, again, growing varieties that produce a whole lot. So I grow hybrid varieties in here in the tunnel that are specifically bred for the greenhouse. And so they produce large quantities without typically a lot of disease until the hornworms come, right? But also because I have multiple spaces, I'm able to grow some of the same crops in multiple spaces. And where it may do horrible in one space, it may be doing well in another space. Hence the Roma tomatoes in the back of my house. So that is kind of what's going on with the tomatoes. We're like 50% out, right? I told you the tomatoes are like, we out, we done. And I finally had to say, okay, back row, you're done. But let me show you what's going on with the peppers. Okay, so here are the peppers. You can see they look real green. They're all staked up. But I will tell you, this has not been the best pepper year. Have we harvested peppers? Absolutely. But not nearly at the rate and the amount that we normally do. If I had to estimate, I would say I have probably gotten 25 to 30% of the peppers that I normally get at this point in the season. Well, I see that one fell down. So you can see some peppers here. Again, I don't know what the difference is. The only thing I can come up with is that it's the same variety, but I got it from a different vendor. Instead of Johnny's, I got these from Territorial Seed. That may or may not have anything to do with it. But the production has not been great. It's been just okay. We have had a lot of sun scald on peppers in here. When I say a lot, meaning I didn't have any before, and this year I had some. That's what I mean by a lot. Just, it's a new thing. I have been able to put peppers up in the freezer. If I had to guess or estimate right now, I have probably put up, I would say maybe 5 gallon-sized bags of peppers, which is not enough to last me the year. But I also have 2 bags from last year that I haven't used. So I have like a total of 7. So I can make that work if I needed to. But like I said, they're green, but you would think this will be hanging with peppers, and it's not. It's just a few here and there. Here's an example of what they have been looking like. So one smaller than normal, and then like this is a yellow pepper. Of course it's blushing, but look and see what it looks like. Like, why does it look like that? I don't know, again, if some of that is sun scald, but it just, that is how they've been looking. And when you cut into some of them, they're fine, there's no issues. But when you cut into some of them, I've had to throw them away. I don't know what this is, what's causing this, but this is the first time I've ever dealt with it. So again, remember I was telling you, this is like one of the worst gardening years that I've had. But this is an example of what it's been looking like. We'll just throw that away. So let me show you the very last row here, and then we're gonna head outside. This very last row is basil. Y'all, I have pruned this so many times and it just keeps coming back. Like it's all laying on the ground now. I told you I have plenty of basil. This is lemon basil that has gone to seed. And then this very last row are jalapeno peppers. We have harvested quite a bit of jalapeno peppers from here. Again, not nearly at the rate from before. And you can see this is another pepper plant as well. This is an Ajvarsky. And then here, all empty. All empty. This right here, remember we had our cucumbers and they were spent. We took them out, and then I planted bush beans. Excuse me, pole black beans is what I planted here. And you can see they are gone. Every seedling when I came back was gone, so I have to think that a rabbit or something ate it. But I don't even have time to do that variety anymore, so this is just gonna lay empty until we can plant for the fall. Disappointing, but there's nothing here anymore. Okay, now we're in our final space, which is our outside garden. This space is 4,000 square feet. And we have 8 rows, and they're 100 feet long rows. So this whole space is 40 by 100. And so we only garden this space in the summertime. We don't do anything out here in the fall and the winter because we have the high tunnel and we don't need this space. Plus, who wants to come out in the freezing cold when I have that? So we only use this in the summertime. So let's kind of walk through how this space is going. We're going to start on the far end and work ourselves back. The very first row that I'm going to show you is our cantaloupe and watermelon row. And let me just tell you off the top, watermelons this year have been horrible in terms of quantity. The few that we have harvested have tasted good, except maybe 1 or 2 here and there. But for whatever reason, and again, I don't know, we have not had the production on the watermelon side like we normally have. We normally grow anywhere from 75 to 100 watermelons during the summer. And this year, I want to say we have probably harvested maybe 8 to 10. That is it. And we have a few more that's out there, but it's not many. I probably don't even have more than 10 out here. I may have 10, and that's it. So why the production loss, I have no idea. I don't know if it's been the rain. I don't know. I have no answers. But the cantaloupes have like just gone bonkers. We have harvested so many cantaloupe, and they have been really, really good. Like more cantaloupe than I want. Like I wish I had more watermelon than cantaloupe, but that's not the way it worked this year. Again, you never know when it comes to gardening. Sometimes things don't work out the way that you planned, and sometimes you have answers for it, and then sometimes you don't. That's all part of it. But let me take you down this road so you can take a look and peek and see what it's looking like. It starts off with the cantaloupe. You can see plenty of yellow flowers, still growing cantaloupe everywhere. Like they are abundant. We have harvested so many. We've given some away. We can't even keep up eating them. Oh, I see there has been a rabbit out here. I think that is rabbit poop. But we already knew that, didn't we? We already knew that. So you can see that big one there. Like y'all, they're everywhere. Cantaloupe, cantaloupe. Yes. I should have put some Irish Spring over here. I didn't even think about that because I didn't think they were over here. But I see tons of rabbit poop for sure. Okay, so this is a whole bunch of weeds. And then we get into the watermelon row. Again, I do see lots of flowers now. I didn't even have that before, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. But in terms of watermelons, like we've already passed 5 plants. You're not seeing anywhere. Like this one is misshapen. There's a small one there. Like I'm just now seeing yellow flowers, but you don't see watermelons, y'all. You don't see watermelons. I see somebody has broken that one. I see 2 here. I see one hiding over there in the cut. And I see a little small one right in there. It's hard to see because it's all blending in. Like they have extended all the way out here. There's another one there. But y'all, that's basically it. That is basically it. And then in between the watermelons and the cantaloupes, every other one, we have basil. Like I told you, I have tons of basil. I don't even usually harvest this. I just let it go to seed and let the bees have it because, again, I have plenty. Let's step over to the other row, which is we have a ton of weeds out here that we had under control, but now we don't. And this whole row is the pollinator row. Tons of flowers. You can see that's what this whole row is. And for the most part, they've done okay. Now this other row is mixed. We have tomatoes. And as you can see, these tomatoes, like I'm getting some Amish paste there. But you can see what they look like. It's like they hanging on. They're like, we want to do a little bit more for you, sis. But we struggling. Like, looking pitiful. Looking pitiful. Then here is our second succession of cucumbers. They are actually looking good. They're starting to grow up the trellis. I have some flowers. So we should have cucumbers in the next, I would say, week or so. They are doing good. That's our second succession that we did together. And then here, we tried some rattlesnake bush beans. Excuse me, rattlesnake pole beans. And so far, they're doing good. We're going to see what happens. Some of them got eaten. So I think I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know if that'll be enough beans to do anything with, but at least it'll be a serving, if nothing else. And we were just trying it out, and we just planted this last month. That's another tomato plant that hasn't produced anything. You can see these tomato plants just not looking good. Then we get to the purple hull peas. Y'all, why are the leaves burnt to a crisp like that? I have been able to harvest some purple hull peas, but again, you can see this whole trellis is empty space. That should all be covered with purple hull peas, but it's not. It's very sporadic here and there. Like this one, rabbits just completely did a job on. The seedlings gone. You can see all of that there just look like they're burnt and they're not growing. I've never, ever, ever seen it like this at all. I've harvested, I would say I'm not even up to a gallon size bag yet. I'm probably at half a gallon, the amount that I've harvested. As you know, that's like enough for one serving. I'm not complaining. I'll take what I can get. But normally, this whole trellis is covered and I grow pounds and pounds and pounds and pounds, enough to last me the whole year. I certainly will not have enough to last me the whole year at this rate. Okay, so this next row over, we have again more basil. This row was where our squash and zucchini was before the squash bugs and all of that tore it up. And so we planted a couple of second succession squash and zucchini, and you can see so far it's hanging on. We have one blossom right there. Now I had 5 here, only 2 have survived there. Marigolds still looking good. All this empty space was zucchini and squash. Got eaten up. These are peppers that look better than they were, but still have not grown and started producing anything. But I do see little buds forming. So we planted these again, second succession. We planted these at the end of June. We'll see what happens. And then the rest of this row, I had purple hull peas here as well. As you can see, gone and gone. There's one trying to come up right there. As you can see, I had stuff planted here. Rabbit got it, and now it's covered with weeds. This whole row all the way down just in the last week or so. So I have nothing literally planted in this row anymore. I had done the whole second succession of squash and zucchini, and y'all, it's gone. Absolutely gone. Let's move to the next row. This is the ahi crystal. It's taken a while, but it's now starting to produce. There's another one there. You can see we got plenty of weeds. These, rest of this is a pepper row. Y'all, these peppers have not done well at all. I'm gonna tell you all about them. You can see, y'all, they're just so tiny. This right here is the yellow monster. Has not done well. Like, you can see how diseased it looks. And that's the biggest one that I've seen. They usually are very tiny like this and then don't get any bigger. This whole row, a lot of green, very, very tiny peppers. Like, they don't get bigger than that. And they're supposed to be yellow monster or Ozark giant. I've harvested a few. Like, that's still small, but I'll take it. I've harvested, I don't know, maybe 5 out of this whole row all summer. Not many. That's just basil gone wild. This one has quite a few on it, but they're all small. I hope you hear me when I say this is the worst it's been. Now, have we been able to harvest a ton of food? We have. So I'm definitely not complaining, but just from an observation standpoint, the amount of stuff that we've harvested this year pales in comparison to what we've harvested last year and the year before that. It's frustrating, it's disappointing, especially when you don't have the answers and you don't know. Like on those peppers, those are all new varieties to me. Yellow monster, ain't nothing monster about it at all. It has not done well. Red, I think it's red wonder, or the wonder pepper, which is a red pepper, has not done well. Ozark giant has not done well. All new to me. Now again, is it the rain? I don't know. Will I try it again? I don't know. It just hasn't gone well at all. Now, the other thing is that I know and knew my soil is very, very deficient in nitrogen when I did my soil test. But we have amended and done tons of nitrogen amendments. So I got to think that can't be it. Like, I can see it struggling, but y'all, it is struggling. I don't know. I don't have the answers. There's 3 more rows for me to show you. Let me show you the main tomato row and what it's looking like. Stay tuned. Okay, so this is the main tomato row, meaning this whole row is tomatoes out here. And we're still getting some, but you can see they are starting to look bad. I haven't pulled these but they're on the list soon. But I'm still able to harvest like onesie twosies off each plant. And I will tell you, the Amish paste have been producing the best. Not a ton, but they are producing, and I'm still able to get some. So even though they look like trash, I have still been able to harvest some here and there. But you can just see, I'll just walk down the row, how they're looking. Not pristine. This variety here, I have to go back and look and see what this is. This is from the man who makes the atomic grape. I can't think of his name. But this particular variety has produced very prolifically. I ordered 3 varieties from him, and this is the only one that has done anything. I got to go back and see what the name of this one is. It has actually done well, like that. Even though they look bad, they have been very, very, very prolific. They start off this color, and then they get to this color here. So you can see, and this is another new variety. I don't remember what this one is. It has produced pretty well. But then, y'all, look at this zinnia. Just tore up. Tore up. Like, these tomato plants don't look as bad, and they're still producing some. And then there's that zinnia again. This is the Oklahoma salmon. It looks good no matter where it is. Okay, so this is new. Jalapenos actually on this plant. It was not doing well, but I see we have quite a few coming. That's some red ember. Then I have another jalapeno plant right there laying on the ground that I see some jalapenos. So that's good. This right here is the spicy pepper row. It's doing okay. That's the red ember. More basil. More basil. This is the thin cayenne pepper. I won't do those anymore. They're not doing good at all. Plus, I like the red ember because they're much bigger from a cayenne perspective. This bed right here, these pepper plants were doing horrible. I got these on clearance from like a nursery, and they looked bad. But now, y'all, they're looking good. They're producing some, as you can see there. More jalapenos, and then in the back are green beans. Here is our okra plants. They are doing good. The okra blossom is so beautiful. So we have 10 okra plants, and we're harvesting. We get into the rhythm of harvesting every day. So we're probably getting, I don't know, 8 to 10 okra a day. So that adds up. So if you harvest them every day, it works out. If you don't harvest them every day, they get too big. But y'all, look at our corn. This right here makes me happy. The corn is looking so good. Look at that. This is our second succession of peaches and cream. It hasn't started to tassel yet, but for the most part, it looks really, really good. So y'all, that is a garden tour. You can see what's left. Again, it is now going into August, and this right here, what I'm seeing is usually what I see, I would say around the second or third week of August. So this eventually happens and was going to happen. It's just happening a lot sooner than it normally has for me. So I would love to know how your gardens are doing in your area. If you're seeing some of the same things, or if your gardens are still growing strong, I hope that they are. But y'all, this is what it is. This is what's left, and we're going to rock with what's left. And again, in this space, there's nothing coming behind it. So we will let this go until it can't go anymore, and we'll reap whatever we can and harvest whatever we can. And we'll just say, okay. And then we'll take it all out and let it rest until the next summer. But that is what this is all about, y'all. This is all a journey. I hope that your gardens are doing well. Remember, you only have one more day to register for the fall gardening class. Y'all, I'm ready for fall. I am ready for the fall garden, because the fall garden, usually don't disappoint me like this. And when I say doesn't disappoint, y'all, it's just so much easier to garden in the fall. The heat is gone, the pest pressure is just much more pleasant and much more easy. Like here, I gotta come out here every day, sometimes twice a day. In the fall, I get to the point like where when we get to like October, November, I'm coming out here like once a week. Much different, much more laid back, but then you still get a ton of food. So if you like this content, if you're new here, I would love for you to consider subscribing if you haven't. Hit that bell up here so that you know when I'm posting videos. And y'all remember, this is all a journey. Let's do it together. I'll see you next time, friend.